Hey y'all, welcome back to All About April. I know it's been a while since you've seen me. I started off with Vlogmas and then I had to stop. For those of you who don't know, I got very sick. I had laryngitis, I also had sinusitis, so I was unable to continue. I was coughing all over the place, child. There was no way I was able to get a video in. I was dizzy. It was just the worst. So you'll probably still hear remnants of my hoarseness throughout this video, but we're gonna get through it. All right, I am so excited because today's episode is going to be my top 10 reads of 2023. And I got something funny to tell y'all before I dive into this. I recorded it like 20 minutes before this, and I had a microphone. The microphone stopped working. There is no sound on the other video, and it was perfect. But as with all things, all is well. So we are just going to continue on, and I'm going to do it again because I love these books so much, and I want you to have the same experience that I had as I read them. I even threw on my goat sweatshirt because that's how I feel about these books. Those were some goat books that I got to experience in 2023. So we are going to have a good old time as I discuss my favorite reads of 2023. And as you also can see, new do, who you, that's me. I have returned back to the sew-in community, thankfully and gratefully. Thankful to my girl Naomi. But without further ado, let's get into my favorite reads of 2023. Now, before I hop into them, I do want to tell you, you are going to see some authors that I've talked about that I loved. There are going to be some books that are repeating by them. If you've been following me, you also know that I have been an avid rereader this year. I will not have any of the books that I have adequately reread on my list, or books that I typically reread on this list. I think that is deserving of a completely other list, which I'm going to be talking about in another video. So yeah, let's hop into it. Starting with number 10. Number 10 is going to go with The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. As we all know, she came out with a memoir that shook the world. I mean, we were not ready for it. So I did it on audio, and child, I was like, what is going on here? Now, I saw reviews where some people felt that it was too much. Some people felt that she should have focused a little bit more on her music. Some people felt that it was way too personal. But I wanted to remind people, we didn't get a chance to see Britney for years. And for her, I think it was a healing and cathartic experience for her to be able to share what she had been going through, why she was away from her fans. And while other people may have seen it a particular way, I found that for Britney, it was a release. Like, finally, she got a chance to tell her story. She got a chance to be able to have her fans truly understand what she had been going through. And I appreciated that because with that book, that was what she told us. I can't even imagine what she did not tell us. And she told us a whole bunch, child. Pretty much, you know, emotionally and mentally abused by her whole family, her ex-husband, and just very hard for her to even move past that. So I will tell y'all, I pray for her all the time. I hope that she is well, but I'm happy that she was able to get to a point where she could share that with us. And that is why that was my top 10 read of 2023. Moving on to number 9, I am going to go with a book that was turned into a Netflix movie. So many of you may have already seen this Netflix movie already. Or you may have read a book from this author, as she had a very popular book last year called 7 Days in June. I am talking about Tia Williams's The Perfect Find. Now, I read it. I loved it. This was my first book by her. I did not read 7 Days in June. But let me tell you, this is an age gap romance. And I was not expecting the what happened in here. So the main female character, she was, a big part of the fashion industry, writer, etc. She has a pivot in her life. Her and her fiance, boyfriend, they break up. And then she actually has to go and work for her nemesis. All right. But check this out. She falls for the nemesis' son, the younger guy. Craziness. Now, they fall for each other, and it's not something that either of them are looking for, but both of them have these individual things that they have to work through. Whether it's with parents, whether it's with people in their lives, whether it's something that's personal. And a lot of that plays a role in their relationship, because they're also like, okay, well, we gotta hide it. We don't want my mom to know. We don't want other people to know because we work together. And we also have this big age gap. But Tia Williams does a really, really great job of allowing us to see how all these external factors, they do cause issues within their relationship. But the resolve at the end was something that I never saw coming. And your girl was crying. Your girl was crying. It was truly, truly beautiful. This is why it is my number 9 favorite read of 2023. She really, really did that. I have not seen the Netflix adaptation yet. Y'all know me in movies. But I will tell you that the book is really, really good. And if you haven't checked it out, you definitely should do so. Moving on to number 8. My number 8 read is from my girl, A.E. Valdez. Winter's Eve, Then, Now, and Always. Yes, it's a thick one. This book is part of the Three Kings series. They are billionaires. And this is the second book in this series. So the first one is called Snow King Catches His Snowflake. And if you're looking for a good holiday read, I highly suggest it. It's not a very, very long read, but it's very, very good and so touching. But this story is about Winter, male character, and Eve, female character. They were formerly engaged, and you get a touch of it in Snow King Catches His Snowflake, but this book details all of it. So why did their engagement end? Why is Eve always on edge? Why is Winter, the older son, not the responsible older son? And how does this play a role in everyone around them? That is what I love so much about this novel, because A.E. Valdez was able to beautifully intertwine all of those elements into this fantastic piece. But let me tell you what she also did really, really well. And I talked about this in one of my other reviews. So if you have not seen that yet, you want to go ahead and check that out. My 2023 books that I've read for the year on my YouTube channel. Eve was not the most likable character at all. And I thought it was very interesting the way that she wrote it, but she did it in a way that allowed us to see how women feel after a breakup. You are going through like a whole bunch of emotions, and once you don't heal, you see it manifest in other ways outside of it. And so it can manifest as jealousy, it can manifest as hurting, it could manifest as grief, or as someone who is difficult to be around. And I really, really appreciated that she allowed us to see a normal reaction from someone regarding that breakup. And then on the other hand, you see Winter, who is also struggling as a man, but in a completely different way. But there are healing elements for this to each other that lead them back that way, but also another special character. I don't want to name who that character is. You got to read it in order to be able to find out. And let me tell you something. This book is close to 500 pages. You don't even feel like it's long because the way that she wrote it, it's just so well put together. And once the book ends, you're like, dang. I know for me, I was like slowly going through it because I was like, I don't want it to end. It's really, really good. But it's A.E. Valdez. That's what she gives you. She allows you to see the human side of these characters, that soft piece of the romance. And it's why it's my 8th favorite read of 2023. Moving on to number 7. This is going to be a read that I had from book club. It is called Brooding Over Bloody Revenge, Enslaved Women's Lethal Resistance by Nikki M. Taylor. Yeah, I tabbed that one. I definitely tabbed it up. We had some interesting conversations about this at book club as well. This was our book club book a couple of months ago. I too have a review of this on my book on my YouTube channel, so you may want to also go and check that out under my 2023 reads. But what made this book so special was we actually got to see why and how enslaved women resisted. So I always see people say or hear people say, I am not my ancestors, and I hate it. And I said this in the other video. I hate it so much. For sure, you're not your ancestors, child. Because the things that these people endured and managed to stay alive is, I am always in awe. But what I loved about this book was you got to see some consistency amongst the women. And this is something that you don't typically get to see in a book or read or hear. None of them were apologetic. All of them understood the consequences, and all of them were ready to face it. Yeah. What also makes this very, very interesting was the laws in each of the states. They were relentless, unapologetic, even to women, and just, there was no protection for them either. I can't fathom what it was, but how the women resisted, whether it was drowning people or smothering someone or chopping them up or burning houses down, they went through the whole process. And what's also important to note is they felt that this was their only choice. So this is divided into 5 different stories. If you plan on reading it, as I said in my other review, I would read it individually, not at one time, so that you can go through that. I don't particularly like to read graphic stuff, but this was so moving to me. It was so informative, and I feel like it's so important because we don't really get to see or hear the side of women from this particular time in history. I thought it was relative. I thought it was significant, especially in regards to women's rights. And that is why it is my number 7 favorite read of 2023. Moving on to number 6. This was also a book club read that left us with tons of discussions. And I will say, I got to meet her and she is super, super dope. I love her. She signed my book and she said that my tabs were dope. I'm talking about Sadiqa Johnson, The House of Eve. I love this book so much, y'all. Let me say, in regards to historical fiction writers, she definitely is like top 3. It's beautifully done. She knows how to do it so well. And when we met her at this, author talk, someone brought up that the story was told in both first person and third person. And she was very impressed that we were able to catch on to that. I won't tell you which characters did because you got to read it for yourself. But just so beautifully done. And part of it is personal to her as well. And I feel like you can kind of feel that as you're reading it. It's two women in here whose lives intertwine. One of them has issues with pregnancy. One of them is able to get pregnant. And then one of them has a mother-in-law who is way too involved. And then another one has a mother who is neglectful. And I think it would be wrong, or we have to acknowledge that these things exist. We know somebody with a mother-in-law who be doing too much. We know someone with, and I can say, from teaching, we know neglectful parents. Like, it happens, it exists. But to read about it in this particular way and knowing that they still have to navigate life at this particular time, it's so important, because this is what we do as women. We figure it out regardless, all the time. And man, just this whole story and how it's done, you can't get enough of it. And I just love Sadiqa Johnson so much. If you have not read The Yellow Wife, there is a little piece of that intertwined in this book. So make sure you check that out too. And again, this is why this is my 6th favorite read of 2023. Moving on to my 5th favorite read. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all, this book has not been released yet. It is an ARC. This book comes out in March 2024. I am already screaming that my book club needs to read it. And that's going to be interesting because the first book I, had some heavy criticism for. But this book right here, This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan, is going to, if y'all thought Before I Let Go was that girl, this book is going to break records in different ways. I was in tears from the prologue, okay? And I want to explain why. In the prologue, she was already explaining to us, how, this has already come out, by the way, so I'm not giving anything to you. She has a son who is autistic. And in the book, there are twin boys who are autistic. And she wanted to make sure that she was properly carrying this out in the story. So she does research, which I will say Kennedy Ryan does very, very well, especially the therapy part. Oh my God, just beautiful. And as you go through, you learn about Soledad and Judah throughout this story. And I think the character development was supreme. It was beautiful. You get to see Soledad as this woman. She's not just Yasmin's friend. She's not just Hendrix's friend. She's not just the mother. She's not just her wife. You see her go through everything into this woman. And very often as women, we carry the tasks of who we're supposed to be, and sometimes it's lost. And what Kennedy Ryan does is allow us to see the beauty in the woman through all of these facets of life. And then Judah is just a man. He is an involved man. He's an educated man. He's a loving man. He's a man who knows what he wants, which is what we like to see, okay? And as their lives intertwine, you get to see what that looks like from multiple areas. And I will say, what she also did very, very well in this novel is allow us to see that relationships have so many gray areas, from a married woman, from a single woman, in regards to her friends, as a community, as a mother. How does that look to everyone? And she just seamlessly put this together. There is a particular part that I can't wait for us to be able to discuss, because it was very, very powerful. And look, if she's watching this YouTube video, girl, you did that with this book. Like, I can't wait to purchase it. And once it comes out, even if I had the physical art copy, I would still buy it, because I believe that this book is that impactful and that important for people to have and to discuss. And that is why it is my 5th favorite read of 2023. Moving on to number 4, I'm going back to one of my faves, my girl, A.E. Valdez, Colliding with Fate. This is Kyrell and Quinn's story. This is the second book in her first series. And let me tell you something. I said in Winter's Eve, one of the things that I loved about A.E. Valdez is how she mixes stories with like the softness of romance. You get to see who Kyrell is. So you meet him and you meet Quinn in book 1, but you don't know their stories. Kyrell comes from neglectful parents. Quinn comes from overbearing parents. Both of them are upper middle class, still dealing with external factors, but decide to become friends with benefits. Now, y'all already know, when you start mixing intimacy with other stuff, it always becomes something. But what's so beautiful about this story is, yes, they mix their friendship with the intimacy, but the friend with benefits both of them in multiple ways. And you don't get to see that side, because some people are very, very strict in how they choose to navigate that particular level of intimacy, but not them. And that's where the story becomes so amazing. I mean, look, we all need people in our lives who are going to give it to us straight, who are also going to, allow us to just be ourselves. And that's what you see with both Kyrell and Quinn. But in the beauty of all of this comes healing, which is a part of that benefit. So if you are thinking about a good friends to lovers story that's gonna have you with some tissues, then this is definitely the one for you. I promise. I love it so much. I love Kyrell and Quinn. All right, moving on to my number 3 read. Child, let me go ahead and tell y'all. This shook TikTok, BookTok. This shook Instagram, Bookstagram. I saw it all on Twitter. I mean, it was a thing, okay? And I found out earlier today that this was one of Kennedy Ryan's favorite reads of 2023. What book am I talking about? Demon's Dream by Elle Kaysen. Oh, yes. She did the thing with this one. So when I saw it, I was like, I don't know, like, what we talking about here? What we doing? And then one of my homegirls was like, you have to read it. And I saw it and I was like, it's pretty lengthy. She was like, you like long books anyway. You gonna love it. So I opened it and I'm like, what is going on here? And so the main character, one of the female main character, Dream, her brother goes off and marries somebody he's not supposed to be marrying. And so they decide to marry Dream off to someone else in the other family to keep this deal going on. However, who they marry Dream off to is a psycho. His name or nickname is Demon. In the very first scene that she meets him, he comes out of a room with blood all over him because he's just dealt with someone. Like, what is happening here? And when I tell you this book takes you on a complete ride, you don't even realize that this book is that long. But there's a wedding scene in here that is so memorable. Like, I'm not saying it's like Red Wedding, Game of Thrones scene, but I am saying that it is memorable to where I read this book in January, February this year, and I still think about it. And it's not even just Demon and Dream. It's also Diana and Smoke as well. So the secondary characters in this story are just as strong. You're figuring out this family has an underground garage. The grandfather was about that life. So was the mama. I mean, it is a true family urban romance story. And as you can see my face, I have to get the physical copy of this book because it's one of those books where you're gonna look back and realize that it is a classic story. She really did that. And we just literally, in my friend group chat, we could not stop talking about this story, and particularly that wedding. I just, look, it wasn't just Demon and Dream. Like I said, Smoke and Diana also gave us a great story. And that's why this was my third favorite read of 2023. Moving on to my second favorite read of 2023. And the last time that I will be talking about this author in this particular video, I am talking about, because I already talked about it twice already, A.E. Valdez. I am not going to be apologizing for mentioning her 3 times because she did the thing and she deserves to be rewarded for it. Let me go ahead and tell y'all. I loaned this book to one of my friends. So she came to, she was like, look, I want to get into romance. I didn't realize that there were so many different parts of it. What would you recommend? And I was like, I'm going to start you off with this one because I had the physical copy of the book. And I said, I think you're going to love it. Asen and Harlo. It's a great friends to lovers story. And so she started reading. She was like, this story is so freaking cute. And I'm like, I know so much. But it's not even just that. This is a true soft romance story. Like, you really get to see how they are friends first. They know each other, they love each other as friends, and then it grows into something more, which is so beautiful. You don't get to see that all the time. But what I love that A.E. Valdez did in this particular story was you got to see Asen be a true partner to Harlo. So he's helping her figure out life on the West Coast. He's helping her figure out, how to navigate life as a photographer, working at the coffee shop, just leaning into who she is as an individual. And then Harlo is helping Asen realize that there's more to life than just being a business owner. And so melting those two together into this story gives you such a classic. Like, it's just really hard not to read this book without smiling. And then the garage scene. I ain't telling y'all what it is. You gotta read it for yourself. But if you know the garage scene, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Nonetheless, I want to visit the Oregon coast because it just seems like it's absolutely beautiful, and the sunflower scene as well. Ugh, all the feels. But if y'all know Asen, or you have an Asen as a woman, like, blessings to you, because he truly seems like just such a great partner and a friend to be able to have. And that's why this is my second favorite read of 2023. Rounding out and getting into my number one. Say it with me, who y'all think it is. It's Sakura. It's her. It is Sakura Allen. And I'm talking about Needful Noir. Y'all, so when she had her paperback sale, I was like, y'all already know, I was racking up. But I definitely had to get this one because I have never read a book like Needful Noir before. And I've mentioned this when I've spoken about Sakura. You don't read the same kind of book from her twice, which is what's so amazing. But in regards to Needful Noor, you're introduced to someone at a young age who seems as if she's been neglected, she has issues at home, she decides to move away, she has experience as a health aide, and then everyone is just transfixed on her short hair, the way that she smells, her appeal, her allure, and she's working for this very, very famous woman, and this woman has this very, very handsome husband, and all of them are interconnected in some way. And that's where the story goes crazy. So you think you know the people in this story, and then by the end of the book, you're like, WTH, what has happened? Like, I can't believe she wrote this. And you're literally just sitting there. I think whenever I finished, I was literally just sitting on my sofa like, she did not do this. She did not do this. And then I had to go back, and because I read it on my Kindle, I didn't have paperback copies at the time, and I was like, that didn't happen. And so I go into the group chat, did she really do that? I can't believe the way this book ended. And if it was ever turned into like a screenplay, I know that it would do very, very well, because Noor, the female main character, has characteristics like Denny from Devout to Devout, and Derek from Seasons of Fidelity. If you've read other Takira books, then you kind of know what I mean. Meaning, they're characters that just sit with you. They're very, very special because they're dynamic. You're never gonna read a character like them again. And for Noor to be this kind of character, I was shocked at who she is. So look, 2 books, all in all, it's 800 pages. It's worth it. I will never recommend a book that is not worth it. As a matter of fact, all 10 of these books are worth it, and they're worth for you to be able to have on your shelf and for you to be able to read. And that's why this was my #1 favorite read of 2023. Thank y'all so much for coming on this journey with me. Let me know if you have read any of these books. If so, which ones? Which ones did you enjoy? Did you agree with my list? What would you add? What would you take off? I'm open to whatever you choose to implore from me. As a reminder, I did do a lot of rereads this year, but I was able to get in my reading goal, which was 52 books for the year. So I actually crossed that. And I'm just really, really excited for what I plan to do in 2024 with my YouTube channel. I'll be talking more about that in the upcoming year. I also will be talking about 12 books that I plan on reading for 2024. So you definitely don't want to miss out on that either. Thank you so much for tuning in with me. I hope you enjoyed what I have delivered to you. And let me tell y'all something. I am a pretty harsh rater. If I'm recommending a book to you, that means that it caught my attention and I believe that it was impactful in some kind of way. Because I ain't gonna tell you to spend your money and waste it on anything. These books really are those girls, like they them. And these authors really also are them. So meet me in the comments. Let me know what you think about it. And Happy New Year. Can't wait to see you in 2024. Bye.